Whatever. Hate this. Whatever. Hey, I'm live.
All right, I will share the link out. Hi.
Good Lord. I'll master this someday. Guitar. Waiting. We're waiting. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Sorry about all this YouTube business. I can only say that I am old and I don't understand any of it, but I'm not that old. So, the way it worked 2 weeks ago, the way it worked last week, each week is a little different story. So, hoping you're all well, hoping you're all healthy, hoping you all stay healthy and keep others healthy. I'm extending my deepest gratitude to my my friends in the medicine field and hospitals and nurses, they this is a big deal for them. What everyone's going through on the outside is one thing, but what everybody, if you're on the front line of this, I guess it's a different story, even worse. So what we're going to do today, I wanted to start by talking about a really cool thing that happened to me this week. I was talking to a former student's mother that we have remained friends, like on Facebook, for 30 years. So this little girl came to me 30 years ago wanting to learn to play the guitar. And I took her in because some people don't teach 5-year-olds. She was 5. She was the youngest student I had. And this mother said, well, you said you'd do it, but I had to be part of it, part of the lesson. So anyway, long story short, one of the things that she remembered from 30 years ago, this is 22-year-old Rod, was I so boldly said, and I understand what I said, I don't practice, I play. Okay, so what that is meaning is, I'm guessing what I know what it means now. There is a difference between practice and play, certainly. Okay, now the deal with practice and play, practice is the stuff we do when we're working on weakness, basically. So that is practice. Practice is about weakness. Now, with that said, play doesn't have that stipulation. You don't have to feel, doesn't have to feel like weakness. Play is having fun. Play is exploring. I feel very lucky in that when I was 8, 9, 10 years old and I started playing the guitar, that this is the instrument that I chose, because this is probably the easiest instrument to play. When I say that, I know some oboe players, I know some clarinet players, I know lots of different instrumentalists, and I'm sure the better trumpet players out there, and I have lots of trumpet player friends and saxophone player friends, they make their playtime, practice time, playtime. So what I want to do more of in my practice is play. Okay, when I say that, if we concentrate on a little bit of the weakness and then we can make a game out of it to strengthen ourselves, that is what I'm talking about. So anyway, so with that said, there's two ideas of how do we practice, and one is referred to linear practice. When we say linear practice, this is the stuff that when I was growing up, I had a teacher that she would write down all the things that she wanted me to do. She would say, okay, so I want you to learn this. I want you to learn how to read this in your melody book. I want you to play these chords and that. And then it's step by step by step by step, and everything was thought out, and that is all you worked on during the week. Now, I don't think it's in a guitar player's natural tendency in order to do that. So there is a term for what we actually do successfully. It is nonlinear practice. Basically, nonlinear practice is you set a goal for yourself. This is something I would like to explore. And you go about exploring it in lots of different ways. Okay? It doesn't have to be something that is thought out. You don't have to have a list of things to do. You satisfy curiosities. You check out different things that that help you create in the style more than just playing the tablature. That's the next level of playing. So there's a certain level of player that what we want to learn how to do is we want to learn how to play tablature. We want to learn how to play songs just like the recorded, and that is one layer of player. The next layer of player is to learn how to play what isn't there, and that's what I'm kind of going to be addressing today. How to play what isn't there, and how to use a little bit of music theory, and not be afraid of music theory. So, in this exploration of nonlinear practice, I'm going to talk about a musical concept that is called a vamp. Now, what a vamp is, in short, it is that little passage of stuff that we solo over top of, and it's repetitive, and it's fun, and it gets we hear it and we go, okay, I want to do something with this. Okay, so this is a vamp. So this is one of my favorite vamps that I use when I teach. Now, for the beginner, what this means, and I'm going to tilt my camera so you can see what I'm doing. For the beginner, what this something like this means, what a vamp means, is okay. We learned an E chord. We may have learned an E7 chord. We may have learned an E power chord. What this does is the vamp makes music out of that. This sounds like we're practicing. So, when we're doing that, when we're practicing the vamp, there's all kinds of things that we can check out in this idea of nonlinear practice. So, the idea with nonlinear practice is no matter what we do, we're completely engaged. We're satisfying curiosities. We're doing things that are fun. And then everything else that we need to be working on, we need to be working on technique. We probably need to be working on a certain amount of scales and improvisation. We need to be working on our rhythm. We need to be working on our chord vocabulary. We need to be working on a lot of stuff. But we can do it at our own pace, and we can do this. So for a vamp like that, the first thing I would do as a beginner, just take an E power chord. That is a vamp. And then what I'm doing with this is I'm taking that E power chord and I'm applying rhythmic intention. When I play that riff, you can hear the drummer in me. You can hear that. Okay, so the movement of it, the groove of it, the bounce of it, that's rhythmic intention. Okay? Just don't go like this. And don't be afraid to hit the strings when you do that. And don't be afraid to make mistakes while you're exploring. The idea of this kind of practice it is not necessary to be perfect. It is not necessary to be perfect. So anyway, that is a very little easy vamp. Now, songs that have vamps like this, lots of R&B stuff, lots of blues stuff. One that comes to mind often is Jimi Hendrix Voodoo Child. Cosmic Slop by Funkadelic. Skin Tight by Ohio Players. Now, what we want to do is we want to learn some of these vamps. So what we can do, for the very basic beginner, what you want to do is learn this vamp. Play along with Jimi Hendrix. And you don't have to, because you're just playing beginner, you're just a beginner, you don't have to be soloing, you don't have to be doing lots and lots of stuff. But as we progress up in this, we learn that groove, and we don't treat it, we want to learn how to express it. We want to vibe from Jimi Hendrix. We want to think, how do I make my guitar sound like his guitar, my airwaves sound like his airwaves. So in the way that we would do this, something else I would practice in this idea of vamping, what key am I in? And it's going to be E minor. I'm going to tell you, it's key of E minor. Okay, now the other thing when I do this, I almost always work with a drum machine. Okay, my preferred method of rhythm, and people would disagree what they prefer. I prefer having a drum machine over a metronome, because a drum machine, it sounds like it's real life. A click on a metronome makes me not want to practice. The idea of nonlinear practice is having fun and exploring and branching out on your central theme and all the various arms. So anyway, here's my drum beat. So what I would do is take that basic Now, you may ask, what am I doing there? Okay, so that's a little more elaborate than the other thing. The next step would be to learning some of the scales that we would use. So the number one desert island rock scale for these kinds of things is the pentatonic, the minor pentatonic scale. So what I'm going to play here, that sounds like Jimi Hendrix. It sounds like Rage Against the Machine. Okay. So the minor pentatonic, learn that, start acquiring an inventory of minor pentatonicness. Now, I can email you all the scale sheets for this lesson. So they aren't included on the lesson. So. If I put this note in there, that's called the blues scale. Okay, so now in this effort of exploring E stuff, that is my recurring theme, I can take the E minor pentatonic, which is E, G, A, B, D, E, and I can move it up the string, and I can explore that, and I can play around with that, and I can put the drum machine on and. and you go about experimenting, trying to make melodies. They can be very, very simple melodies. The more songs you and styles and stuff you have under your system, the easier this will be. But when you're first starting out on this, you want to play melodically. You want to play melody. To me, this sounds like this makes me want to play riff stuff. This is how I can write songs all day long. So when I have something like that. All right, so next, that is just mapping out the E minor scale on the low E string. Thinking in terms of this as a unitar. Again, we did that last time. Also taking the notes of open E. And then there's a couple boxes so we can learn. This is an ongoing process. This is not something that, but it is fun. It is fun. It is fun. It is fun. And then you listen to people that do this. How do I play like this? How do I come up with these things? Okay, that is the reason that I learn songs and learn riffs and steal from people. Okay, so I can build my vocabulary up. Now, this is not even going into lead guitar playing yet. So if I did something, the higher strings sounds more like lead to me. Okay, so if I had like a... If I'm practicing lead guitar, I would be downloading backing tracks, the E Dirty Blues. So when I do like stuff like that, it's kind of a dirty blues. Just in that open minor pentatonic. That's all I'm going to do today. So I practice with a backing track that tracks what your notes are going to sound like against the chords and the rhythms. Okay? Listen to players that do this stuff. Lots of players do it. Listen to guitar music. Another thing, and this is, I think, vitally important to my style and my way of thinking, is to listen to other styles of music. Okay, because when you hear something like this, to me that is kind of that makes me want to go funk. Okay, but the electric guitar, the distortion is kind of rocking. Okay, when I go like this, that's kind of country. All right, so the best kind of musical stuff we explore how would lots of different musicians approach this this vamp that we're creating. So okay, so now what I could do is just practice the same kinds of things with say, okay, so now this is the same key. We're still in the key of E, but it isn't heavy metal. It isn't hard rock. It's kind of like this is kind of stacked. Learn how to play other styles of music. Don't just play one style of music. You bring that other stuff in. And it makes your music better. It makes your music better. You can play different rhythms. You hear different rhythms. You go for different rhythms. You go for different sounds. This way. Okay, so. So this is all of this is just kind of exploring over an E chord. Okay. At any given point, if this is too much for you, then you learn players that do that, and then maybe learn that stuff note for note. There's a place for noteness. It's like we have no vocabulary. If you have no vocabulary, then talking about improvisation is silly. Okay, because you can't. Improvisation doesn't mean you're just coming up with stuff. It doesn't mean you're being dangerous. It means you have experience, and you have rhythms, and you have stuff in your past that you can draw upon when asked to create new music on the fly. And that's what we all want to do at a certain point. Okay, so anyway, so making your practices fun. That is the however we go about doing that. Learning songs you like, learning guitar players you like, acquiring a list of who are your favorite guitar players. If you're a guitar player, don't have a list of favorite guitar players, then do have a list of favorite guitar players. Don't be joyless. All right. Seriously, it's like these guys. When I was a kid, these are my heroes. These are the guys that kept me out of trouble. The guy that's what I wanted to be. Of course, I'm different, and you don't have to be that into it. You don't have to be that into it. But this player is who I really admire the way he phrases, or this player I like how he gets around on chords, or this guy I like his funky strums, or this guy his sweet way of playing melody, or this guy his wiggly finger action. Okay, everybody has a different thing that makes them great, beautiful, and all that. And so you come up with your own list, and then we start coming up with practice routines that can help you better understand that. Anyway, do we have any questions? Who is here? I see Freddie Says is here, and Bruce. I see Bruce. Is Tegan still here? Did I lose Tegan? Anyway, okay. So if there is any, what I will also do is I will take the notes that I had on the other YouTube page and post them on here. No, you have no questions. I'm sure you have lots of questions, Tegan. Okay, you can ask me when we get off. All right. So anyway, so for next week, you're beginner. Learn that Jimi Hendrix riff. And we're just elaborating on it. And all this is the new book, by the way. This is all the stuff that we talk about in Boom Pop, like learning how to play, learning how to improvise, but just because we're whatever, bruiser. Learning how to express yourself, learning how to go past just the tablature. That is my goal here. Alrighty, I will see you all next week, and sorry for the mass confusion. I will learn to better do this. This is my goal. This is my goal. So I want you all seriously be careful.